One fateful morning, the day Amira was supposed to leave for the city, a tragic event occurred. As Amira stepped into her mother's room to bid her farewell, she found her mother lying lifeless on the bed. Once upon a time, there lived a young lady named Amira. Amira was 35 years old, but she had no husband nor children, no money, no business, and no tertiary education. Amira was just a girl who had no life at 35. She felt she had nothing figured out about her life. She had nothing to look up to or call her own. She was lost in her own world. All of her childhood friends were happily married and had started a family. Some of them had found success in their career and were doing very well for themselves. But Amira's life was just the opposite. Although this was never the life she wanted to live, nor was it a life she envisaged for herself, but the circumstances surrounding her were beyond her control and she wasn't able to thrive. Amira lived in a small village called Amaefe with her sick, aged mother and her sister named Ijola, who was just 12 years old. Her father passed away when she was 6 years old, leaving her mother single-handedly alone to raise them. However, life took a tragic turn when her mother became ill and was no longer able to care for them. Her mother has been ill for many years and was unable to work and provide for Amira and her sister Ijola. At a tender age of 18, Amira had the sole responsibility of caring for herself, her ailing mother, and her younger sibling. Her mother's illness prevented her from leaving the village to pursue opportunities in the city and further her education. She was stuck in the village where she had to do manual jobs for people to enable her earn some amount of money and take care of her sibling and her sick mother. Life was very hard for Amira because she worked day and night tirelessly to take care of her sister and mother. Amira had too many responsibilities and they prevented her from planning her future. As a result of this, she didn't have her life figured out even at this time in her life. Each time Amira walked across the road, she would see her childhood friends, some of them in exotic cars with their husbands. When she tries to greet them or call out to them, they ignore her. Most times, they might give her a mean and condescending look. Amira was looked down on by all of her childhood friends because she was nowhere near to their level of achievement. None of them wanted to talk or socialize with her. They never wanted her as a friend because they saw her as a good-for-nothing person and that she was beneath their level. On many occasions, Amira had attempted to greet or hold a conversation with her childhood friends when she encountered them along the way, but they would invariably ignore her, acting as if she did not exist. This treatment always left Amira feeling hurt and discouraged. She became ashamed and would always hide herself whenever she spotted any of her childhood friends approaching from afar. She did not want to be seen in her present state. One day, while Amira was on her way to the market to buy food for dinner, she saw her childhood friend, Anissa, approaching from a distance. But before she could find a place to hide, Anissa had already spotted her. Anissa had just come back from the city and was looking very beautiful and stylish. She said to Amira, "Amira, oh, is that you? Oh my goodness, it's been ages. Where are you going looking like this? You look so tattered and unkempt."
I know I look messy and tattered, but that's just because I got back from work. But I am on my way to the market to buy some food. You're looking so beautiful, Anissa.
"Oh, thank you. What kind of a job do you do now? And besides, are you married?"
No, I'm not married yet. I work at people's farm and I help them clear their farmland. They pay me for my work. That is what I do. Gosh, how could you call that a job? That's no job, girl. You need to upgrade yourself. Stop doing such jobs. They're too nasty for you. Honestly, you need to try harder. Well, I just want to tell you that I'm getting married next week, and that's why I came back to this village to prepare for my big traditional marriage ceremony. The whole village is going to hear about it. Hey, that's so nice. Please, can I be part of your bridal train? I would love to join. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you're too old for that. Besides, my bridal train is for big and rich girls. I'm sorry, you're not on that level. Please excuse me.
Amira was so surprised to hear such condescending words from Anissa. She couldn't believe what she just heard. She was speechless and stood there for a few minutes thinking about what Anissa just said to her. She burst into tears. She couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She went home that day looking so sad and broken and devastated. She sat on her bed thinking about her life. All of a sudden, a thought came to her mind. She went into her kitchen and picked a poisonous substance from a small bowl, and she went back to her room and sat on the bed. She said to herself,
I am tired of being mocked. It is best I end it now. Yes, I would rather die than live a wretched life like this. This will be the only way to end my pain.
As she was about to drink the substance, she had her hands close to her mouth, but then another thought came to her mind.
If you drink this poison and die, who will take care of your mother and sister? They would suffer more. Is it worth it? Life would just be more difficult for your sister, who is just 12 years old.
As these thoughts ran through her mind, she wasn't able to take the poison anymore. As she sat on her bed thinking, she slept off and she had a dream. In her dream, she saw herself in a beautifully well-decorated room filled with gold and silver and different kinds of beautiful jewelries. She had many servants surrounding her, and they were serving her as she was dining and eating in a big dining room. She was living like a queen in her dream. When she woke up and she realized that it was only a dream, she became sad and moody again. Her mother noticed how sad and moody Amira had become. She was concerned, so she called Amira and spoke to her about it.
I know that time is not on your side. Your youth is fading. You are not getting any younger. I understand your worries. Now, it is time. You need to go and find your fulfillment and self-discovery so that you can be happy. Your sister and I will take care of ourselves.
But Amira refused, and her mother began to persuade her more. After a while, she accepted, and she told her mother that she would do her best to make her proud. Amira's mother was happy, as she was finally at ease. Amira began to work harder to save up money so that she would leave the village for the city. After 3 months of hard work, she was able to save up a substantial amount of money, enough to rent an apartment at the city. She was excited that finally she would be leaving the village, but she also felt sad because she didn't want to leave her mother and sister. One fateful morning, the day Amira was supposed to leave for the city, a tragic event occurred. As Amira stepped into her mother's room to bid her farewell, she found her mother lying lifeless on the bed. She desperately tried to wake her mother, but to no avail. All her efforts proved futile. It was then that Amira realized that her mother had passed away. Her heart shattered as she wept uncontrollably. Her life, once filled with dreams and aspirations, was now fragmented into pieces of despair. At her mother's funeral, Amira could not control her emotions. She couldn't stop crying. She was now left alone with her 12-year-old sister, Ijola. One morning, she began to think of the next thing to do. but she had no other option than to proceed with her travel to the city. This time around, she had to go with her sister. But after careful consideration, she thought it would be risky and unwise to take her sister to an unfamiliar location. So she decided to send her sister to the neighboring village to live with her aunt, who was her mother's sister. The next morning, Amira embarked on her journey to the city. She boarded a taxi straight to the city. As she sat at the back of the taxi, she was weeping bitterly. Her heart was heavy with grief, and the thought of her mother kept running through her mind. After 10 hours of journey, she finally arrived in the city. With the little money she had saved up, she rented a very small room where she could keep her belongings and lay her head. After a few days, when she had finally settled in, she started looking for a job. She went from one location to another in search of a job. She finally got a job in a restaurant as a local waitress. She began to work hard and she was able to make some money, which she sent back home for her little sister and was able to save some for her future education. After 12 months of working and saving enough money, she decided to enroll into an adult higher education. Things were going pretty well for her until her aunt, whom Ijola, her sister, was living with, began to make demands for more money from Amira. She would fabricate lies and tell Amira that her sister was sick just to get more money from her. Back at the village, Ijola was being mistreated by her auntie and wasn't even being properly taken care of. She was mistreated so badly that she had to run away from her auntie's house, and she went to live with an old woman called Iyana, who lived in the same village with her auntie. Although the old woman lived in a shabby-looking hut, she took good care of Ijola, and Ijola began to live with her. Back at the city, Amira, who had no idea of what was happening, kept sending money to her aunt, thinking that her sister was well taken care of. But little did she know that her sister was no longer with her auntie. But since Amira trusted her auntie, she kept on sending more and more and more money as her auntie kept demanding and extorting more money from her. The demand got too much, and at a point Amira had no more money to send. She spent all her savings and she was left with nothing. She became so poor that she wasn't able to continue her education and pay her house rent. Her rent was due and needed to be renewed. She wasn't able to pay her bills any longer, so she dropped out of school. One day, as Amira was walking along the street, she coincidentally met her cousin named Safia. She was happy to meet her since she didn't know that they lived in the same city. Amira told Safia that she needed help and explained to her how her rent was almost due and that she would be sent out by the landlord very soon. Safia felt pity for her and she decided to accommodate Amira. Amira moved into Safia's apartment. She met Safia's sisters. She was warmly welcomed and she began to live with them. Everything was going well for Amira, until when God decided to bless Amira. Many handsome and rich men began to ask for her hand in marriage. Some of these men were so wealthy that Safia became jealous of Amira. Although Amira was not giving them a chance because she felt she was not in the same league with them, but that was not enough reason to stop Safia, who had grown so jealous and so much hatred for Amira. Safia and her sisters sent Amira out of their apartment. They disappointed Amira, and she was neglected when she needed them the most. She was left with nowhere to go. She moved into an uncompleted building that she found across the street. Since the building was still under construction, Amira decided to stay there until she gathered enough money to rent a new apartment. Few days after she moved into the uncompleted building, she woke up one day and was about to leave the building in search of a job. She saw a woman named Madam Aya approaching her. At first she was scared, but she summoned courage and asked the woman,
Good morning, ma. Please, who are you? What are you looking for?
This is my building. I came here to see the work in progress. so far. So I should be the one asking you what you are doing in my building.
I am so sorry, ma. I didn't mean to trespass in your building. I am just a homeless girl and I have nowhere to go. My sisters threw me out of their house. I had nowhere to go, so I decided to stay here for a while until I save up some money for house rent. Please, ma, don't send me away.
Madam Aya felt so much pity for Amira after she heard her story. She asked Amira if she had a job, but Amira told her that she was jobless at the moment. She'd offered Amira a job in her house as a cleaner and housekeeper, and she would also give her an accommodation where she would comfortably live. Amira was so excited. She accepted the offer immediately, carried her bags and followed the woman back to her house and began to work immediately as her housekeeper. She was very hardworking and so devoted to her job. She washed the clothes, cooked the food, and would clean the whole mansion, and she was indeed hardworking. Madam Aya was so satisfied with her job and she treated Amira so well. Madam Aya lived alone because all her children were grown and lived in foreign countries. She had 3 rich handsome boys who rarely visits home. She was a very rich woman, but her children were richer. One day, on a beautiful Monday morning, one of her sons, Osagie, came back home to visit his mother. Madam Aya was very excited to see his son and he welcomed him warmly. The next day, Amira resumed work. Osagie, Madam Aya's son, saw Amira and began to like her. He fell in love with Amira. Osagie couldn't take his eyes off Amira. Amira admired him too. It was like love at first sight. He went to ask his mother about Amira. Her mother told him who Amira was and how she met her. She told her son that Amira was a good woman. Osagie told her mother he wanted to marry Amira. His mother approved of it and gave her son her blessings. After a few weeks, Amira and Osagie got married. It was a great joy and celebration for the entire family. 2 months after their marriage, Amira decided to go back to the village to bring her little sister Idrina to the city to live with her. When Amira got to the village, she was driven in an expensive car. All the people who thought nothing good would come out of Amira hid their faces in shame. The villagers were shocked and wouldn't believe their eyes when they saw how much Amira had changed. There was a great uproar in the village, and the news of Amira's return and transformation spread quickly like wildfire. Most of her childhood friends, who treated her badly and ignored her, were embarrassed, and they lacked the courage to approach her, offer her a greeting, or even congratulate her. They never saw it coming, because in their hearts, they thought Amira was going to be useless forever. When she got to her aunt's hut, she told her aunt that she wants to take her sister Ijola with her. Her aunt lied and told her that her sister ran away a few days ago and that she didn't know the sister's whereabouts. Amira was very unhappy. She was devastated because she didn't know where to find her sister. Back at the old woman's hut, Ijola was sent on an errand by the old woman. She had to go sell some farm products that they harvested from their farm because that was their means of sustenance. As she was on her way to the market, she began to hear rumors about her sister's return. She saw a woman who was discussing what she had seen earlier and asked her some questions regarding the rumor. The woman told her that Amira was back, and not only that she was back, but she came back looking very rich, riding in a big car. At first, Ijola could not believe her ears, so she decided to find out for herself. She ran to her aunt's house, and there she met her sister, looking so beautiful and different from before. She was very excited and couldn't hold back her joy. Amira was so pleased to see her sister again. Ijola told her all her story and how she was being mistreated by her aunt. Amira was so disappointed as she listened to her sister's story. She took her sister back to the woman's hut and thanked her greatly for taking care of her sister. Amira took her sister back to the city and they lived together. Amira went back to further her education, and after 4 years, she graduated. She became the managing director of her husband's company. The girl who was once called useless was now a role model for many girls in the village. The moral lesson of this story is that you should always believe in yourself. No matter the situation, your current circumstances does not determine your final destination. Never give up hope, even when it seems like everything is falling apart, because things can change at any moment. And don't let other people define you. You are who you choose to be. Remember that God has the final say in your life. Your plans may not always work out, but God has a plan for you and it will surely work out.